Everyone, I'm Simon from Gressingham Foods. Today we're going to be talking about duck, and I'm going to be showcasing how to break down a whole duck. Just give you a little bit of background about the company and the product. Our founders, Miriam and Morris, moved over from Ireland to Suffolk in the 1970s and started farming chickens. They then wanted to diversify and look for other options, so then they sought out a duck farmer. They made contact with someone in Lincolnshire who was breeding this unique Gressingham duck, which is a combination of a Peking and a wild mallard. They then started farming these in Suffolk and across East Anglia, where it just became very popular with local chefs. It continued to grow and was for its quality. It then started going into supermarkets, and now it's grown and grown until the Gressingham brand and product is synonymous with duck and quality. Now let's start looking at the duck. So we've got a lovely whole Gressingham duck here. Beautiful, nice skin. You don't want any sliminess or off colour, and lovely skin coverage. We're going to be breaking this down into 2 duck breasts, 2 legs, and then we'll have the wings and the carcass. To start off, we're just going to trim the neck flat, so that will allow us to remove the wishbone. So if I just trim this here, and then we're going to be looking inside to try and find where the wishbone is. You'll be able to tell from when you can feel with your knife when it's something hard. Obviously you don't want to be cutting through to the meat. Just going to make a small incision on either side. Just going to allow me to get my fingers in there to separate the wishbone from the rest of the carcass. So now I've made those incisions, so I'm just going in where they were, if I can find it. So then, yeah, I've managed to get hold of that. So then we just pull that out. This will help us get all the meat off the bone later on. Then we need to start with taking off the duck legs. So I'm going to cut in between the duck breast and the leg through here. I'm going to have a look, make sure we're keeping the meat one side and the bones the other, and just follow that all the way back. Then to make sure we get all the meat, we want to be cutting around to get as much off the back as possible. So I like to hold the leg in my hand and just cut around. We then want to just release that where the joint is. This will allow us to cut through without going through any bone, and then we'll just follow it all the way through. We can do the same on the other side. These ducks, which are bred to be a combination of Peking duck and wild mallard, it gives great flavour but also wonderful succulence without being too fatty. So that's what chefs really love about the Gressingham duck. Nice and succulent, delicious flavour, and easy to cook with. So now we've removed both legs, just going to trim these wings. So I'm going in between the meat there and just bending these outwards, which will allow me to cut in between the joint without cutting through the bone. Just do the same on the other side. There we go. And now at this point, you could turn it into a crown by removing this backbone, but we're going to take the 2 duck breasts off. So I'm going to cut down the central line all the way down, and I'm now to the left of the central bone, so I'm keeping the meat to the left with my hand whilst keeping the knife as close to the bone on this side. So as I peel away here, I'm just making small cuts to make sure I get as much meat off the bone as possible, and work my way all the way down. Just detach that bit of skin there, and again just keep working all the way down, keeping the meat this side and the rest of the bones that side. When we get to the wing, we just want to keep the wing bone again on the one side and all the meat on the other. Just work our way through until we release our duck breast. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Gressingham, we're very fortunate enough to control and own the whole supply chain. So we have grandfather and father breeder flocks which produce the eggs, which are checked by hand and then incubated, ready for hatching. Once they're hatched, as day olds, they're then moved to light and airy barns where they're fed. They've got complete access to food and water, and they're on nice fresh hay, which is replaced every day and checked on by our fabulous farmers. As you can see here, I'm left with the carcass. We can separate this into two pieces quite easily if it's easy to manage. Just cut in the back there, break the back. This will allow us to cut through. So I've just separated the back from the front, broken the back. This will allow us to cut through the joint and separate into two pieces for easier preparation. So the ducks, when they're in their barns, they're then reared for about 5 weeks, checked on every day, and then before they're caught and brought to the site for preparation. So as you can see here, we've got our 2 duck legs, our 2 duck breasts, our wings and our bones, and a little bit of trim, and our carcass. The carcass and wings and bones are great for roasting and adding to your sauce. I'm just going to show you how to trim the duck breast. So with all this trim through our process here at site, we sell everything that we cut off. You obviously see our duck breasts and our duck legs, but even the skin, the fat, the bones, we sell it all, and then we actually produce our own duck fat from some of those byproducts. As you see here, we don't need to take off too much fat because we still need nice coverage, but we're just going to take off this little bit of connection here and trim the side, and then just a little bit across the bottom and a little bit across the top. That will give us a nicely trimmed duck breast ready to pan fry. So we're just going to check our duck legs for trim and ready for cooking. So we're just checking there's no extra bone on the back side or any loose skin. This one's got quite nice good skin coverage, and we're just going to trim that slightly. Any of this fat and skin that goes for the duck fat gets rendered, so it's a slow roasting process which extracts the duck fat. It's then filtered and packed, and it's 100% duck fat. So we go, as we've got our nicely trimmed up duck legs, they're ready to go. The wings and the winglets, they're great for roasting and adding to your sauce along with your carcass. These do have good meat on them, but they're best if they're slow cooked to get it nice and tender. So once the ducks have been caught and brought to site, they get slaughtered and then go through, get plucked using a wax dip tank, which basically sets the wax on the feathers, which are then stripped off to get all the small feathers out. They then get eviscerated and then graded into different weight bands. They then get chilled, make sure they're nice and cold, ready to be butchered. Here at Redgrave, we do all the process from kill to evisceration to butchery, all the way through to packing and dispatch. So here for Gressingham at Redgrave, as it's grown over the last 30 years, we're now doing up to 200,000 ducks a week, which means we're doing up 10 million ducks a year. Amazing volume. We don't only just do ducks, we do a large amount of free-range bronze turkey, mainly for the Christmas period, which we sell into retailers and wholesale. Then we also buy and sell quite a bit, some chicken, poussin, guinea fowl, which we work with a partner in France who farm it, and then we buy it and sell it onto the market. So from our whole Gressingham duck, which is a cross breed between the Peking and the wild mallard, we've got our lovely range of products which are great, cooked and can be served many ways.